Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC Minicast.
I want to bring on my friend Tom Philipson, who is one of the leading economists in the country. He was the head of the Council of Economic Advisors for Donald J. Trump in his first term. He is at University of Chicago. He's one of the experts on health economics. And Tom and I have done a study that we'll be coming out with. We want to give you a sneak preview on this. It's going to be officially released on Monday about what it would be worth to Americans if we could win the race for the cure, if we can speed it up and eradicate this horrible disease. So, Tom, thanks so much for joining.
Great to be with you, Steve.
So, give us the summary of like how this came about. What are some of the principal findings of the study? Because this is something everyone is very afraid of getting cancer. I mean, it's a terrifying experience. If everyone knows someone with a family member or friend who's had cancer. Is it possible that we could eradicate this disease?
Yeah, I mean, we have the medical progress that has made a lot of headway recently. But if you think about, we were basically trying to value what's the value of getting rid of a major cause of death in the U.S. And if you think about anyone you know or yourself, what's the most important asset you have? And what's the most important asset you have in life?
Your health.
Your health, essentially.
Yes.
Everything becomes second. If you're sick, everything else, your material assets, your consumption becomes sort of a second order issue. So therefore, when you value improvements in health using economic metrics out there, which have been established and are used by the federal government in any kind of cost-benefit assessments of policies that affect health, when you value the reduction in mortality from eliminating cancer, you get very, very large number because health is so valuable, essentially. So we found that if you look at a 35-year period starting in 2030, and there's about a $186 trillion value of eliminating the 30 million deaths, essentially.
By the way, that's 186 trillion. That's trillion with a T, not billion with a B. Trillion. $1 trillion.
Yeah, and that's the reason you get such large numbers is because people have demonstrated with their behavior when they're trading off mortality risk, let's say, and wages in very dangerous jobs. Those are the numbers you get for a given life year that you save. Yes. And we're saving about 380 million life years if we were to get rid of cancer. Yeah.
And so, this is amazing. And so one of the results of the study is $15,000. It's the equivalent if we get this cure for cancer. And as you said, we're making incredible strides. The survival rates from cancer continue to improve. But I think in the study it says $15,000 per American per year is sort of the value of having this cure.
Yeah. No, I mean, we have tried Nixon launched the war on cancer, but we didn't have the technological sort of momentum which we currently have with, cell therapies coming into cancer. We have the cancer vaccines coming in. We also have these through companies like Grail and others. We have multi-cancer blood tests, which, the key to curing cancer many times is to catch it early as opposed to going in and doing colonoscopy, which everyone hates and therefore doesn't do it. Everyone doesn't like that type of screening. So now they're developing new technology where you just pick your finger and you can basically test for 50 different cancers at the same time. And that will be an enormously valuable thing if those technologies develop, because then we're catching cancers in stage 1 and then 2 instead of 3 and 4 when they're much more deadly.
And how about the big advances in terms of, years of life would be to conquer the childhood cancers, and that those and people, by the way, I know who have, tragically lost a child to cancer, they would give everything they have, Thomas, everything they have to have a cure. So that this is, emphasizing the point that you're making, that the value of saving lives is just so enormous.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing it from the patient's perspective as opposed to the loved one. So whenever you have someone die from cancer, particularly if it's a child, but also if there's very old individuals, the whole family suffers, and presumably that's something which is almost equally valuable for the loved ones left behind. And we're only doing it from the patient's perspective. So in some sense, this huge number is us underestimating the value of getting rid of cancer.
Well, Thomas Philipson, thanks for doing this study. It will be out on Monday. People can go to unleashprosperity.com and pick up that study. It is very exciting, and this can happen, folks. We can win the race for the cure, and the economic benefits are in the over $100 trillion. We'll be right back, folks. This is the More Money Show. We're back, folks. This is the More Money Show. Thank you again so much for joining in on a Saturday afternoon. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I'm finishing my conversation with Thomas Philipson, who was the head of the Council of Economic Advisors for Donald J. Trump in his first term. He is an economist at the University of Chicago, published everywhere. He also works with me at Unleash Prosperity, doing amazing work on public policy. And we're talking about maybe one of the most important public policy issues of our times, which is how do we win the race for the cure for cancer? And if we do, what is the value? What is it worth to us as citizens of this great country if we're able to conquer this horrible, horrible disease? I think it's the second leading killer, next to heart disease. So, Tom Philipson, I want to ask you about one of the frustrations that people have about new drugs when they are developed, and you know that it on average costs sometimes $1 billion to bring a new drug to market, with all the research and development and the testing and so on. And I'm frustrated, and so many of the people in this pharmaceutical industry are frustrated that it takes so long to get through the drug approval process at the FDA. And economist who I knew, and I think you knew him too, Milton Friedman, one of the greatest economists the last 100 years, used to say the FDA is killing people because they're keeping life-saving drugs off of the market and denying people access to them. How do we fix this problem?
Yeah, it's an enormous problem. It takes many times a decade from start to finish going through FDA, and that's an enormous delay. Think about other businesses. Yeah. If we had software development that took a decade from start to finish, we would be all logging into our AOL accounts right now, essentially. So, I mean, it's a shame that it should take us. It's not benefiting people. It's well intended, but it's not benefiting patients at all. Essentially, the way it should be done is essentially that the way we did it with Operation Warp Speed, which everyone agrees it was very valuable. And if it's valuable for COVID patients, why isn't it valuable for any other diseases? It's equally valuable for other diseases. And the way we sold it to the president at the time, he's a real estate developer, essentially. He's very frustrated with permit delays in real estate and infrastructure development. He actually tried to do a lot to reduce infrastructure development permit delays. It's the same issue for not for real estate developers, for drug developers that are facing FDA, essentially, with permit delays of getting on the market. And those delays are a major hurdle, not only for the patients who can't get the drugs, it's basically raising the cost of development, so you don't even see companies trying to go to market because of these hurdles. Like you said, it's about 10 years, but also now up to $3 billion per successful drug, and that's including the cost of failure.
Unbelievable.
So the 90% of drugs fail from start to finish at FDA, which is also very troublesome.
Unbelievable. So, we have one of our members of our Unleashed Prosperity who's in the in the business of financing new drug development, and they have a drug that is very, very promising in terms of treating an ALS type of disease. It's not ALS, but it's very similar in terms of, decapitating your neurological system. And it's a terrible disease, horrible, crippling disease. And the FDA is just sitting on it, and they're not allowing. And my feeling is it's inhumane. It's cruel. If the people want to take these drugs, why should the government regulators tell? And by the way, it's been proven safe. It's been proven safe, so there's no negative effects of it. Why not let people use it?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have in many markets that the government comes in and regulates quality of products. We can see the government regulating safety. We have that in several markets, cars and other ones. But the quality of the product, meaning what in drug language is called effectiveness of the drug, is something that's rare, unique to drugs many times. And that doesn't make any sense for the following reason. We can have FDA regulate safety, which is done in these early trials called phase 1 trials, as opposed to 2 and 3, which is more about the quality of the drug. And we can have them clear the safety, but the private market has already figured out how to deal with effectiveness without FDA. And the reason is because of so-called off-label use. Once a drug is approved by FDA, it can be used by doctors for any use. And doctors and the medical community figure out quickly which ones are useful for what diseases, even though FDA hasn't approved it yet. So they basically have demonstrated with off-label use that the private sector can determine what works or not without FDA, essentially. And for cancer, that's a huge component of use of cancer drugs. We were talking about cancer earlier. Yeah, for cancer, a lot of use is off-label use, which means FDA has not approved it, but the private sector has figured out what works or not, essentially. And we can do that for a lot more drugs than just have the government clear safety. And that would cut development times at FDA from a decade down to a couple of years or a year.
Yeah, a lot of time these companies run out of money before they can bring the drug to market because, the difference between having the drug on the market in, say, 5 years versus 10 years, that's an enormous risk that these investors take with their private capital, and then they just give up. And it's just a terrible, terrible thing. Thomas Philipson, thanks so much for joining. He is a former member of the Council of Economic Advisors under Donald Trump and is also at University of Chicago. And keep your eye out for that study, folks, on cancer. It is coming out Monday morning. Incredible results. It is going to not only be an incredible health breakthrough when we come up with this cure for cancer, but it is going to do enormous things for our economy as well. When we get back, folks, I will be taking your calls. This is the More Money Show. We are live. We are in color. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-WABC is our More Money hotline. Love to hear from you about any of the stuff we've been talking about. Are you worried about AI? Do you think we can win the race for the cure for cancer? How are you feeling about what's happening with the oil prices? It's open mic time. I'll take your calls. 1-800-848-9222. I'm sorry, 1-800-848-9222 when we come right back with the More Money Show.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.